just for more on that, as we know, big Australia keeps getting bigger under Labor, with a record 1.1 million migrants coming into this country since it was elected. Now, it suits Labor politically to have a big migration strategy, but now a new poll suggests most voters reject a big Australia strategy, with 73% of people saying the country does not need more people, up from 65% just 2 years ago. Joining me now is macro business chief economist Leith Van Onselen. Leith, good to see you. Another day, another poll, but they say the same thing. We have brought too many people into this country. The question is now, can either party actually get it down to reasonable levels?
Yeah, it's spot on, Danica. Look, virtually all opinion polls taken both during the pandemic, after the pandemic, before the pandemic, they all say the same thing. Australians want less immigration, and they want less immigration because they've seen the consequences of 2 decades of high immigration, the outcomes for housing, infrastructure, services, the environment, etc. They don't like that. And the only party that's actually offered reduction in immigration is the Coalition. So the Coalition's promised to cut the permanent migrant intake by around 25% to 140,000 a year for 2 years, but it hasn't set a target for net overseas migration, which includes temporaries. And we really need action on both the permanent and temporary side to bring migration down.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, something has to be done. And it wasn't front and centre at the last election. I think now it certainly is at the forefront, but it's something that I think is really on Australians' minds. Now, look, the RBA Governor, Michelle Bullock, has conceded her predecessor took too long to raise rates. Here she is appearing before a parliamentary committee today.
Arguably, we were late raising interest rates on the way up. We didn't respond as quickly as we should have to rising inflation. If we're going to start reducing interest rates, then we need to be thinking of doing it not when we are already back in the band, but as we start to get more confidence we're coming back to the band.
Leith, does that sound like we might get another rate cut in April?
Yeah, it certainly sounds like it, doesn't it? Well, indeed, the latest statement of monetary policy by the Reserve Bank that was released on Tuesday actually lowered its estimate of the neutral cash rate. So the neutral cash rates, the interest rates, is basically the interest rate that does not add or subtract from demand. And they lowered it to 2.9%. Now, the cash rate after Tuesday is 4.1%, which suggests that it's in highly restrictive territory. So it's likely the RBA is going to cut again next month. And in fact, Danica, most economists tip 4.25% rate cuts this year. So we've had one, and most expect 3 more.
And we know this week the RBA cut interest rates by 25 basis points. After 12 rate rises, how big of a difference do you think that will make?
Well, in isolation, 0.25% isn't going to do a lot, but it does signal to Australians that the worst is over, I guess of the cost of living crisis. And, obviously there are expectations of further rate cuts down the track. And certainly I think the Albanese government will be hoping that Tuesday's rate cut moves the needle and, moves public opinion its way. And it's hoping, I guess, that the Reserve Bank's going to cut again in April before the election.
Yeah, well, we've got an interesting few months ahead, don't we? Leith Van Onselen, good to see you. Thank you so much for joining me on the show this evening.